back to the way the game has changed. You've already raised John Terry, and you've already talked about the way in which integrity of referees is questioned, and your integrity has been questioned in ways that it wasn't before. So let's bring it down to the specific and what happened with John Terry. It was a Chelsea-Tottenham game, wasn't it?
Yeah, November the 5th, 2006. It was a Sunday afternoon game, fireworks night, as it was billed, and will the Rockets go off? And they did. The thing that's never been explored fully is the game was refereed properly. The game was refereed well. There weren't mistakes in the game. John Terry, you could look at the send-off, the second caution, and say maybe it was harsh. I would say it was correct. I'm biased, obviously. But I've looked at it back and it's not wrong.
But Graham Paul, to those who were not at the game and don't remember the game, in essence, what happened was that you sent the current England captain, John Terry, off. He claimed that you had given him reasons for that sending off while on the pitch, which you then later changed and came up with a whole other set of reasons because later on you felt that would sound better.
Yes.
And when we're talking questioning of integrity, John Terry made you sound like a liar.
That's exactly how I felt, yes. And because with video evidence, I mean, TV company produced a video which had me and John Terry on film permanently, uninterrupted, throughout, from the moment he committed the offence to the moment he left the field of play, and it was impossible for me to have spoken to him. So it proved categorically that I was not a liar, and that he was. The issue is, did he believe, because what people don't realise is the stress that's out there on the field of play makes you think things have happened that haven't. I've given penalties, and when I've seen a video replay back, I'm looking at that situation going, well, that isn't what I saw. And that's a really uncanny thing. It's really difficult to deal with that and think, well, that's the actuality of what I saw. So maybe John Terry thought I'd said something to him, and then when I explain it to him afterwards. The disappointment...
Did he ever get back to you and say, I'm sorry, because you felt you've been vindicated by the video evidence?
That's the disappointing thing, is when a player... At the end of the day, he then says he's right. OK, I was wrong, or he didn't even say he was wrong. He just accepted the charge and paid the £10,000 fine. Some people suggested afterwards that was something which was done. Bear in mind it's the FA, the England captain, and as long as it was a pleaded guilty, it's a £10,000 fine. I don't know if that's true or not.
Well,
but
look, this is the question.
Following that, I would hope, knowing I've known John Terry for years. I saw him break into the Chelsea first team. I got on brilliant with JT, as I always used to call him. I got told off by a manager, a rival manager, the same season, for calling him JT on the pitch. He said, you're over familiar with him, you're too friendly with John Terry. And then John Terry turns on you, and now there's no contact. I'm not expecting...
Hang on, I want to ask you this, plain and simple. Is John Terry, given your experience of him, fit to be England's captain?
I think he has all the attributes to be an England captain.
That's not what I asked you.
I know it isn't, and I'm going to tell you the answer. I think he has all the attributes to be an England captain. I hope he learns his lesson, but at this moment in time, no, I don't believe he should be England captain.
Not fit to be England captain?
Given the way he challenges referees, watch Chelsea's games going forward.
Well, I've just watched the Chelsea game. Last week I watched Chelsea-Liverpool. I watched John Terry in the lead, in the vanguard of Chelsea's efforts to make their case to the referee in very loud and no uncertain terms. Do you believe, between Jose Mourinho and John Terry, the captain, that Chelsea, to take one of Britain's leading teams right now, have a deliberate policy of bullying and intimidating referees?
I find it hard not to when you watch John Terry play for England and he doesn't go to those excesses that he goes to when playing for Chelsea. So if it's in someone's intrinsic nature that that's how they behave and they can't control themselves, like Cantona when he was in his full pomp, you couldn't talk to him about don't do this or don't do that. That was him. Wayne Rooney now, he goes in, you know, he's got problems with metatarsals. He won't stop challenging like he challenges. It's part of Wayne's game. John Terry challenges a referee in a domestic game when playing for Chelsea, will challenge a referee when playing for Chelsea on a UEFA match, and yet when playing for England, he behaves very, very well.
So deliberate intimidation?
I can't see how it isn't.
Do you think it's helpful when you deal with Chelsea, and it's Mourinho and Terry that you particularly single out as being a problem in your career, when you respond by saying, and I'm quoting direct from a piece you wrote in the newspaper recently, that Jose Mourinho, the manager, sinks lower than his dog's belly in his dealing with referees. You're trying to make a case for players and managers being held to account for what you regard as their outrageous bullying behaviour. And then you come up with a quote like that.
It was well, you've got to keep that in context. It was at the time when his dog was wanted by immigration.
I doubt
people,
Mr. Mourinho is going to make you many allowances.
I don't think he is, and if I wouldn't tell you, because I've never told anyone what he said to me at the last game of last season, the Chelsea Man United League game. And I would say
to be honest with you, I think you have to tell me because
the comment. No,
because
I don't. The comment he passed.
If you want
would
the public to
justify
understand and you want the FA to understand, you've already made the point on this programme of saying the FA have not backed me and they have allowed, to a certain extent, this situation with managers and players bullying referees to get out of hand. Well, you are going to have to tell the public, me, the FA, exactly what Jose Mourinho said to you, because you say it was so outrageous, so beyond the pale that you could barely believe it. So what was it?
I couldn't, and that's why I've never repeated it. People accuse me of, oh, you're saving it for your book. I don't say it in the book. I won't say it at all. It's something that he knows, I hope, and what he's doing this season, which is good, is I think he's learnt his lesson. I think he's looked at it and he says, I will not comment about referees. So if by me...
Well, learnt his lesson, but quite frankly, he's one of the people who's forced you out of the game.
No, he hasn't. And that's one thing I have to make very, very clear, and I make that clear in the book. I wouldn't let one single person or even a football club force me out of the game.
You said it was the most outrageous, the most hurtful thing you'd heard in 27 years refereeing.
Yes, it was.
You implied very clearly that it was a slur about your relationship with Alex Ferguson.
Yep.
So in essence, he was saying you favoured Manchester United throughout your refereeing career. As far as he was concerned, you had been unfair to him.
He certainly said I was, in essence, pandering to Sir Alex Ferguson. And that was where it went to.
With a lot of foul and abusive language chucked in.
With some sexual innuendo thrown in.
Sexual innuendo?
Yes.
But, I mean, that's just beyond belief. He was...
It's true, and that's how life is. I can't. One of the problems you have with someone with such power and might, financial, it's very difficult for me to say that's what he said, categorically prove that, because when you come to litigation, I can't prove it. He said it to me very carefully, very cleverly, puts his head in and says what he says.
This is a sick game you're talking about and describing to me.
I love football. I love football, and what saddens me is that we have these situations that now come up. Now, by me highlighting that, which I've done in the newspaper and in the book and on a documentary, hopefully makes people look at it and say, that was beyond where we need to be. And I hope, as I said to you, so far this season, we're only 3 or 4 games in, but Jose Mourinho has gone out and said, I will not speak about the referee. In fact, I won't even speak about the other managers' comments.
The problem for you, Graham Poll, is that many people inside football believe that you brought many of these problems upon yourself because your style was always to be friendly to the players, to be chatty, to make it a little bit unclear where the lines of authority began and ended. And you, in the end, reaped the whirlwind from that. And that's partly why, for example, to take another clear case of Wayne Rooney, he swore in one game you refereed, the lip readers who followed it suggest 27 times, often foul and abusive language directed at you. And you chose not to send him off. Okay, and then you complain about a lack of discipline.
Covering your first point first, I would ask you to ask players whether they knew where they stood with Graham Poll, the referee. Because I know that they did, and they liked me refereeing them, and that was never an issue. And when you read players' books, I get nice mentions, not bad mentions, from top professional players.
Well, you shouldn't be getting nice mentions or bad mentions. The idea of a referee is that in the end, you're anonymous. As Oliver Holt, the football writer, said of you at the end of your career, he said, the problem with you was that you didn't want to be anonymous. You wanted to be centre stage.
Oliver Holt can write what he likes. It's a personal thing with Oliver Holt. That's how he likes to write about. I mean, that's one of the issues. You've got people that write about football matches who are biased because they support football teams. They charge referees with being completely independent, and they're not independent themselves.